and welcome to Rethink Your Legacy. I'm Francisco Servent, your host, attorney, and problem solver at law. So happy to be here with you today. This is a conversation designed to help you live out your family's legacy before you leave this world, because that's what we've got to do. I believe that we live out our legacy in 90-day chunks at a time, because that's about all we can really plan ahead for. Today, what we're going to be talking about is a topic that affects all of us, affects every age, whether you're just going back to school virtually for kind of the first time ever, or you're planning your retirement and trying to figure out, how you're going to live on this fixed bucket of money that you've created after working a career so hard and long. And then I want to play a twist on this, right? Is there whether or not we should hide our wealth from our kids? This is a topic that we talked about on our Facebook page a couple weeks ago and got some interesting comments. But so we're going to talk about today about hiding your wealth. It's something that there's a lot of, people playing with, a lot of people trying to figure out how to hide my wealth. Where do I tuck it? Do I put it here? Do I put it there? Can I hide it from the government? Can I hide it from... And there's just a lot of, I think there's a lot of fun things to talk about in there, but there's not a lot of really solid, good, concrete, easy ways to implement it that actually work if a problem ends up happening. Because if a problem ends up happening, you don't want to end up with that plan not working. So, this is just kind of similar to what... we finally got some monsoons here in Arizona, right? And totally unexpected, wasn't on the radar at all. It was in the evening, like always, and it was my 8-year-old son. He goes, "Oh my gosh, Dad!" And like, "Look out back!" And out back, of course, the sky's turning orange because the dust storm is moving in. And my wife runs to the door. I kind of sit there because I'm just not impressed by it. And then my wife's like, "Oh my gosh, honey, we got to go." And our canopy, we have a one of those tent canopies up in the backyard that gives shade for our ducks. We have 2 ducks, Piddle and Puddle. And our shade structure was, it's staked down and it's tied down, but the wind was picking up and it was about to lift off. So we went out there and tried to save it. In the end, we couldn't save it, but it just reminded me that, you know what, there's plans that work. There's good intentions that sometimes work, but those tent pop-up canopies, they're not made to withstand a haboob that rolls through Chandler, Arizona, and it got destroyed. It got absolutely demolished. It looks like a big tangled, metal torture device out back now. And so we can't think that everything is going to work all the time. We have to have, I want you to have some good ideas, some solid ideas that actually work on some smart money moves here. So that's what we're going to talk about. I don't know if, as we're heading into the fall, are you the kind of person that, buys that pumpkin spice latte every day now that it's out? Are you are you the other side? We've seen some really cool ways that people have learned to and figured out how to save money. And because a big part of building your wealth is spending less than you make every month and taking what you don't spend and using that to build your wealth fund, right? Because then one day you want that wealth fund to be making more money for you than you can make at your job. That's the whole concept of building wealth. And we just find some really cool ways that people learn to save money and do things less expensively. And then we find some really weird ways. I don't know if you all watched that TV show that came out a few years ago where there was a family that actually learned how to make toilet paper and use a reusable toilet paper out of cloth, like little towels. Interesting, right? Certainly not something my wife is interested in. What about that wealthy couple that goes to really nice restaurants but then always splits a meal every time, right? Why not? You think they get the experience, they get the fine dining experience, but maybe they can't even really eat a whole meal, and they're just like, why would we ever have? There's no such thing as taking leftovers home from this place. Um, what about there's a cool gal, a friend was telling me about when she used to work at a bank decades ago. Her one of her first experiences was this guy walking in who white guy, big hair, big dreadlocky hair. I mean, just looked like a homeless man. He walked in to do a transaction with her at the bank, and when she opened up his accounts on the computer, saw, and literally to this day, she says he's one of the wealthiest men I've ever been in contact with. I mean, just by what I could see at our bank. He decided to keep his hair and his attire like that. I worked at a restaurant in Mesa growing up. One of my first jobs. I don't know if you guys, and if you remember Smitty's grocery store. Well, um, they used to have a restaurant on site, basically like a breakfast place. And in that breakfast place, we served a customer almost every day, every day, every day, every day, same kind of thing. He dressed down. I mean, he almost looked like he could be homeless. And he ordered the same $3 breakfast every day and a cup of coffee. When one day we had a break, and I went, and he was outside at the bench smoking, and I went out and was chatting him up. And holy moly, I learned this dude was super uber wealthy. I mean, like beyond most of my imagination. Um, or the story of somebody who I was told by a friend who, completely by surprise, he got a phone call one day saying a distant relative had passed away and left him multi millions of dollars in his estate. Completely unaware of this, total surprise. It just shocks me sometimes, right? I mean, if you're dealing with any inheritance issue and you need help, that's all we do at Keystone. Give us a call, 480-750-7788. And my team would be happy to help you get started. We're also giving away a copy of my book, Pack Your Parachute. And if you'd like, you can also get a checklist of everything we're going to talk about today, the strategies, the tactics, the story. We'll send that to you. Just drop in your email, request it, and we can send it to you for this week's show notes. Because I want you to be empowered to protect your family, to make good decisions for your family. I don't want you wondering. I don't want you out there. Too many times lawyers have kept this stuff sort of close to the chest, like it's all our knowledge and it's my precious and we can't let it go. Well, here you go. I'm going to give it to you. So take it, use it. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is really, what does it look like to hide your money, and who are we hiding it from? Are we hiding it from just because we don't want the stigma of being a wealthy person, quote unquote? Is it because, are we hiding it from our kids because we think they might kind of be a little bit like vultures? Maybe they've proven to be that so far. Are we hiding it from stepkids? Are we hiding it from, maybe, I don't want to, if I'm in a car accident, I don't want to get sued. Or maybe you're in business and there are some risks and liabilities that happen in business. And if your business gets in trouble, you don't want your personal life to be affected. You don't want your personal wealth to be affected. Yeah, that's possible. Or what about creditors, or divorce, or bankruptcy, or the things that we talk about all the time in my practice? Nursing homes. Holy cow, that gets to be expensive. $80,000, $100,000 a year is not uncommon. And then the two ultimate things none of us can avoid: yes, death and taxes, right? Can we hide our money from this stuff? That's what we're going to talk about. So stick around. If you have questions on this, if your family is just, you already know, oh my gosh, we've got to take care of this. We've got a trust that's 10 years old, or a will that's 20 years old. last time we did this was when the kids were babies. We need to get in and update our stuff. That's what we do. We can help you plan ahead to get all this stuff put together using our 10x no probate guarantee. It's the only place you can get that in Arizona. Or if you're in the mess right now and you're trying to administer an inheritance from a family member, a loved one, you're in the process of going through that, and it's, you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing, or somebody's doing it and you're not sure they're doing it right. That's what we do. We can give you advice on that. Our phone number is 480-750-7788, or you can go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com, or you can shoot us an email, radio@keystonelawfirm.com. And that's what we'll be picking up today. So come back with us after the break. Welcome back. This is Francisco Servent with Rethink Your Legacy. I'm your attorney and problem solver. And today we're covering a topic of, should we hide our wealth? And so that's just kind of the question. We had a couple people on our Facebook page give us some funny comments about when we asked this question out there. And if you look back, you can see Stephen Zachary. He threw out a funny comment, and I think I just want to call him out here and say, really? Is that really what you believe? If you go over to Sam Doncaster, thanks for throwing a comment up there. He's a local attorney as well. And I thought he prompted some good discussion. Look, if you want to join the discussion, jump on our Facebook page. That's what it's there for. That's why you can interact with us. We're happy to give you some, funny brainstorming ideas over on that page. Just go to Facebook, look for Keystone Law Firm, and you'll see us right there. So today, like I said, we're talking about how to and whether or not we should hide our money. This gets prompted as a question because there are things that happen in life where sometimes we think, oh crap, I wish my money would be hidden from this problem. Just this summer, a couple in Glendale won the $410 million lottery ticket in Glendale. $410 million. Holy cow, that's a big chunk of money. What you'll notice about that is that they were able to produce the ticket under anonymity, completely anonymous. It's the Department of Revenue, whoever it is that pays these big checks out, they know who they paid the check to, but the person or persons who bought that ticket, they're remaining completely anonymous. And that's what you would have wanted if you won the lottery ticket, right? So how do you do that? Or what if, we just had somebody in Chandler just a couple weeks ago win the, I think it was about $3 million lottery ticket here in Chandler. They weren't anonymous. They didn't get that set up. So that could be, right? I've had 2 clients win the lottery. Kind of cool. But so maybe that's not going to be your story. The things that I think scare me and maybe scare some of you are one of the things that we see too often is when a parent gets elderly and not, is still in charge of all their own life and taking care of business, but is just becoming a little bit more needing some help and some interaction with one of the children more. And it's especially risky if the kids have at all been still somewhat financially dependent as they've grown up. I have enough clients who this happens to, and I see it, and there's no judgment here. It just is what it is. Sometimes parents, you've made the wealth and you've saved and you've been frugal, and you're still somewhat partially, or in some cases completely, supporting your adult children. They just either don't have the ability to earn the money they need to earn. There's a disability there. There could be special needs there. Or in some cases, they just never developed that financial muscle to earn money, and they just aren't financially responsible. And so you've become financially responsible for them, and it just has stayed that way. If that happens, it just I've seen this too many times. That what happens in a lot of cases is that particular child becomes your caregiver in your elderly years. And there's a lot of moral, guilt and obligation, I think, that comes with the financial support you've given, that they want to do that. That's something they can do. And so they want to do that. I commend that. I think that's honorable. Where it gets scary for me is when I've seen them take advantage of it financially, take advantage of you financially, and we had this happen recently. We're in the process of trying to protect this gal who was supporting her kids. And one of them, the son started to take money out of the account that really he shouldn't have been taking, in order to pay his own bills, pay his own way, and is literally now in a court battle with his mom to stop the bleeding, to recover some of this money. And I mean, he's just become a vulture trying to get his inheritance before she's even dead. And that's just a risk. So if you're dealing with this, if you're dealing with something that scary, we can help. If you want to avoid that, if you want to protect your family from letting that happen, we can help. Give us a call, 480-750-7788. Because you don't want that to happen. Now, hiding your money from the kids might be a solution, but it may not cover all of the things that you want to hide your money from. Because in reality, what else can happen? Well, this was just a complete freak accident. I mean, freak accident. This guy's at work and he's up on a ladder. And he's working on something up on the ladder, whatever they're doing up on the ladder. And one of his coworkers just comes up behind him and touches his leg, I think to tell him something, but it just completely startles him. Like he wasn't expecting it, right? He ended up falling off the ladder, crashing, getting some injuries. And some of them were serious. Some of them were pretty serious. He off work, he had to have multiple surgeries. He has permanent nerve damage. I mean, this was a bad injury. All complete freak accident. So what does he do? He finds a lawyer, of course, who then sues that coworker. And because the coworker was on the job, sues the employer as well, saying, whatever. Well, guess what? He ended up with $1.6 million verdict in his favor. $1.6 million in his favor. Holy cow. Now, if you're just if that's you, the coworker, holy moly, it was a pure accident. Well, if that's you, the owner of that business, same thing. Complete freak accident. Wasn't your fault. Wasn't anybody's fault. But then $1.6 million out of your pocket later. Holy moly. Can you swing that kind of a cash need on the drop of a hat? Most people don't want to. And if you protect and hide your assets correctly, you won't have to. So these are the reasons why people do this, why people think about I want to hide my money. Oh my gosh, I need to hide my money. We talk about the nursing home thing all the time, where families, they call us all the time, hey, can you help us hide mom's money because she's going into a nursing home? No. The answer in that situation, you can't quote unquote hide the money. That in that situation is called federal fraud, which under our statutes is a crime and has criminal penalties. You don't want to do that. In most circumstances, you need to shift your way of thinking from hide my money, you're not necessarily really hiding your money, to just protecting it, okay? Hiding it is potentially fraudulent, and that's where you get in criminal trouble, and that's where the court just completely plows through whatever you did to find your money and then take it. If you appropriately protect it, then that's where you don't have to hide it. You can say, yep, look, here's my big pile of money, but you can't touch it. That's what we're going to talk about in the next segment, because I know this is something that a lot of people are concerned about. If you're ready to take care of this, if you're just thinking, my gosh, I don't know, we've built up some wealth and I know we won't spend it all during our retirement. What I don't want to lose it to some freak accident in the car or a nursing home. I don't want to lose, four, five, $600,000 in a nursing home. I don't want to lose $100,000 to probate. We've worked hard for this. I want it to stay in the family. If that's what you're thinking, that's what we help with. That's who we help, is families just like you. So give us a call, 480-750-7788. You can also go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com. The first step that we do with new clients is called a discovery hour. And in that discovery hour, completely no pressure, it's very relaxed, very easy appointment. And the cost of that is applied towards any services you need. If you don't need anything, totally awesome, fine. We hope that appointment, we know that appointment will be valuable for you. And that's the first step for all new clients, is to really just get to know you. It's a very small commitment just for you to be able to have the time to sit down and meet my team and learn, are we going to be a good fit for each other? Because you want a good fit with your lawyer. You really want to jive with your lawyer. You want your lawyer to understand you. Are you struggling with worried about how your family is going to be protected? Are you worried about what they're going to think? Did you do this correctly? Is this a big mess? And geez, mom left me in a big giant mess. You just want to work with a lawyer who understands what you're dealing with. So that discovery hour is your first step. So join us after the break, where I'm going to pick up and we're going to talk about 3 specific strategies you can use to actually protect your money. Protect it, not just hide it. Join me after the break. Welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. This is Francisco Servent, your attorney and problem solver at law. Today we're talking about hiding your money. Where are you going to hide it? Where are you going to tuck it away? We can't always truly hide the money. There are some ways to be anonymous with your money. I guess we'll do that on a future show. But today what we're talking about is protecting your money. Because hiding your money sometimes can be a completely fraudulent thing. And that's where the strategies get thrown out by the court when there's problems. Protecting your money is things that are proven to work by the court. And that's what we're going to focus on. I'm going to give you 3 specific tactics that you might want to consider for your family. So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, who do you want to protect? The first question, though, is who do you want to protect your money from? Who's out there that you're worried about? That's going to drive what strategy you're going to use. First question, who? Is it from your kids? Okay, maybe it's from your kids. I don't know. I have clients who do need to protect money from their kids. Their kids are not financially responsible. And, whether it's during my client's life, whether it's during mom and dad's life, that we're worried about the kids running in and becoming vultures, or even after they pass away, are we worried that the kids are just going to inherit it and completely destroy their life? I mean, what would you do if somebody slid $100,000 in cash across the table to you, right? I mean, if you're not financially responsible, getting a bunch of money is not going to make you financially responsible. So is it from your kids, or is it from others, right? Just maybe it's some undefined person out there. You're worried about getting into a car accident and them suing you, or I don't know. I mean, anything out there, right? There's a million different ways that we could end up in a lawsuit. So, and then the third thing is it from your business or your work. Now, not everybody owns their own business, but if you're in a business, if you're in an industry that has a lot of risk, then you can get dragged into that individually. And your employer is supposed to defend you. But if they go under and you're just getting dragged through the mud, that's a risk you should consider. It's very easy to think about this from the perspective of doctors and lawyers as well. Engineers can be high risk. There's lots of industries out there where you have a lot of risk in what you're doing. You're doing something that you're getting paid, this much for, you're getting paid $10 for, but the risk if something goes wrong is $100. So that's the risk in some businesses. And then sometimes you own the business, and maybe you've got 20 plumbers out there driving around, going into people's homes. And, that in and of itself is super risky. So maybe you own a business that has risk. Now, if you've got any of that and you want to protect it, that's what we do. Give us a call, 480-750-7788, and we'll help you get started with the first step. So the three strategies that we're going to talk about today are, the first one is protecting your business, or I should say protecting your personal wealth from your business. The second one we're going to talk about is protecting your personal wealth from the nursing homes, because they just get super expensive. And then the third thing that we're going to talk about is protecting, again, your personal wealth from the government. And the specific part of the government is the probate system, which in my experience is just completely loves to devastate financial security. So first, with a business side, okay, if you have a business, any kind of business, there is some risk there. It might be really small in some businesses, it might be really huge in others. Whatever it is, you want to contain that in its own separate problem area of life. You want to wrap a bucket around it. The first layer that we recommend is good insurance. Good insurance. Please go get a commercial general liability policy and buy as much as you think you can reasonably afford to pay the premiums, and get that first layer of insurance. The next layer of insurance, or the next layer of protection, is your business entity. Okay, that's like an LLC or a corporation. Different ways to set those up. In Arizona, it's pretty easy to pull the trigger and create one. That's not the hard part. The hard part is operating it year after year after year according to the rules that say you only get protection if you operate it right. That's the whole, if you've heard the concept of piercing the corporate veil. When people don't operate those businesses correctly and they just use it as their own money back and forth, swishing, whatever, money's going in and out, and it's like they're one pocket to the other pocket and nobody treats it as anything formal. And then, 50 other requirements you got to do every year, then you lose that protection. Okay, if there's a problem in the business, it comes right after your personal life. That's the second layer. The next layer past that for businesses is what we call divide and conquer, because at that point now you've got a business that has probably multiple different assets within it, and it might have multiple different I'm going to say multiple different businesses within it. And an easy example is to think of somebody who owns multiple rental homes. We have a lot of clients that own lots of rental homes. They've got a whole portfolio across the valley, across the country. And you want to separate those as each of their own individual entity, their own LLC. Well, if something happens on one of them and the tenant sues, they don't get to sue all of the other ones. Okay, that's one little business all on its own. And then the last layer of a business is to create some type of asset protection trust. And that may be domestic, it may be foreign. You can do that in some states here in the country, it works. So clients in Arizona can use us to set that up in Nevada or Delaware or Wyoming, some good states to do that in. Or you get really sophisticated and start setting them up overseas. Okay, that's the first tactic you use to protect your business. Now, for those of you who don't have a business and you're thinking about, I'm in retirement and what do I need to do? Because the biggest financial risks in retirement are truly your medical costs. Just plain and simple, it's your medical costs. So if you're going to look at medical costs, the first thing we recommend is we've created something called a healthcare asset protection trust. And that's intended to take some of your personal wealth and put it into an irrevocable trust that can't be touched, right? That can't be touched by nursing homes, can't be touched by your medical bills, etc. You're then going to be covered under the Medicaid system to pay all those bills. That's the strategy with a healthcare asset protection trust. Lots of requirements, lots of restrictions. You can't just poof, you can't just run out and buy that form and download it. That is a complicated structure that if you want, you can set up and protect as much of your assets as you want. We saw a client who was able to protect over 90% of their personal wealth from that risk and just basically guarantee that it's going to go to their families. So that's the second strategy, is that healthcare asset protection trust. And then the third strategy is I want you to know to make sure you are protected just against the fundamental basic thing of the death costs. I mean, they just get to be exorbitant in probate here in Arizona, and you can opt out of it. It's a very simple tool. You've heard of it. It's a revocable living trust. It's not fancy, but it's necessary. A will in Arizona does not avoid probate. A power of attorney does not avoid probate. Putting your children on the name on the bank account with you does not avoid probate. Putting your family members as beneficiaries of all of your accounts does not avoid probate. None of that is going to guarantee that you avoid probate. In fact, setting up a trust will not guarantee that you avoid probate unless it is maintained and kept up to date and funded, and somebody's standing behind it. That's why we give a 10x no probate guarantee. We say, and you can get that in writing from us, okay? It says that we will pay the probate fees if you end up going to probate. That's what you got to look for with a trust, okay? Is some kind of 10x no probate guarantee. There are two probates in Arizona, the one that happens while you're alive and the one that happens after you die. And that's where, you can check back our other episodes here where we cover that in detail. If you're ready to pull the trigger on any of these, okay, the first step we do with new clients is a discovery hour. We do them virtually. We do have limited ones available in the office. And my team will meet with you, help you figure out what your issues are, understand what your goals are. That way we can clearly show you what your options are. We make it very simple, very comfortable, very casual for you to understand what your options are. The last thing you want is to go to a law firm and be more confused when you leave. My team has been very specifically trained to make this simple, make it easy, and make it so you can understand truly what your options are and not be confused just by all the legalese. So give us a call to set that up, 480-750-7788. You can also request a copy of my free book where I go through tons more of this stuff. Don't have time to cover it all today. And it's called Pack Your Parachute. Please jump on and request that. You can also go to our website to request that, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and request your free copy there. We'll send it by email immediately. And so come back after the break. We've got a couple questions here submitted by our listeners, and I'm going to go through and hit those. And if you have any questions, feel free to send them into radio@keystonelawfirm.com. Be right back. Welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. I'm Francisco Servent, your attorney and problem solver from Keystone Law Firm. And today we've been talking about how to hide your money, how to protect it, how to make sure nobody can get to it unless you want them to. And we got a couple questions submitted that I want to make sure get answered. So if you do have a question, send it in, radio@keystonelawfirm.com. If you're catching this on Facebook, drop us a comment on Facebook and we'll make sure to chat you up and get your question answered. The first question we have, we didn't get to talk about this, so I'm glad we have this one, is can I leave my stepkids nothing if my husband dies? Ooh, kind of a juicy one. Can I leave my stepkids nothing if my husband dies? So blended family relationships in Arizona, I want you to know they operate completely differently than you probably expect. It is not a standard, what you sort of, well, this would be common sense. There's no common sense built into the law when it comes to blended families. The answer is here's the good lawyer answer that everybody loves to hate. It depends. It totally depends. This is going to be a totally dependent answer on 100 different factors in your family situation. Do they have a right to that inheritance? They might actually. They might, because a blended family, if your husband is going to die, not if he's going to die, he is going to, we're all going to, right? When he dies, his children, they do have a legal interest in whatever his property was, whatever his estate was made up of. Even if it was all joint with you, they've got a claim, they have an interest in that. And so can you, the surviving spouse, not leave them anything? It'll depend. You might be able to. It'll depend on how he set things up, right? Did he give everything to you? Did he do a trust that says this? Was it all funded correctly and kept up to date? A million different questions that will give you the answer yes, if that's what you want, okay? But it's not a default yes. You need to know that it is not a default yes. If you want help setting that up, give us a call. We do that for families all over. Or if you're the stepchildren and you're thinking, what the heck? Why is the money disappearing? Where's our inheritance, right? You do have some rights there. So give us a call, 480-750-7788, and we can help you learn what your options are to set that up. Either way, whichever side of that equation you're on. Or you can request a copy of our free book today as well, Pack Your Parachute. The second question that I have is from somebody else, and I didn't go into this topic today because it feels too big sometimes, but this is a good one specific piece of it, how to protect your money. How much is the estate tax? So I mentioned at the beginning, death and taxes. We can't avoid those two things. How do you protect your family from the estate tax? In Arizona, so there's two layers of this. There's the federal level and there's the state level. Some states in the country do have their own estate tax bill, like you're going to pay an estate tax when you die. Arizona doesn't have that, okay? We don't have our own in Arizona. The federal level, there's one that is at the federal level for everybody, okay? That's the one that most people are thinking about when they talk about the estate tax. But if you're in another state, or if you're a snowbird, right, then you may have to deal with an estate tax just from your state government, okay? So I can only speak to Arizona. Arizona doesn't have one. At the federal level, we're in 2020. The limits change every year, and in 2025, this whole thing is going to expire. So just kind of know this is a year by year thing. But right now, it's a little over $11 million. The first $11 million is totally exempt, no estate tax. So most people don't have to worry about this. If you're over that, okay, any dollars over that 11 million are going to be charged the estate tax, and it can get as high as 50%, okay? So if you've got an estate and you've built up a real estate portfolio, it's worth $20 million. The first 11 is going to go estate tax free. The next 9 is going to be cut in half. And that is a tax bill that's due in cash, 9 months of death. I mean, you got to liquidate. So if you've got an estate that is over that limit, there are some really nice strategies that you can put together to avoid that, actually. And they're not really that hard to set up. So if you want to do that, give us a call, 480-750-7788. And look, we've got one last question that I hope puts you in a better place to protect your family. It's a bigger question that I think we can cover in just one little quick segment. But what is the trustee supposed to do? We get these phone calls a lot where somebody will say, hey, my brother, my sister, somebody who's a neutral third party is supposed to be doing this job. My mom passed away, my dad passed away. And now what's supposed to be happening? I don't feel like I'm getting enough information. I don't feel like I'm not sure. Am I supposed to get my inheritance now? Am I supposed to get a copy of the will, of the trust? And there's just a ton of questions, like what are they supposed to be doing? And it can be tough to answer that if you've never been through the process before. There are some very clear steps they have to go through. No matter how simple it is, there are some things that they're supposed to do in every circumstance, okay? Number one, they have to be completely transparent about what's happening. They're not allowed to hide the ball. They're not allowed to, play holding everything close to the chest. They must be transparent. If you have an interest in the estate or the trust, you're entitled to information. That's number one. Number two, they are completely accountable for whatever happens. So under their watch, if they're responsible, they have to protect the property, have to protect the trust assets. If there's real estate, if there's a brokerage investment account, Their job is to protect it. They're accountable, number two. And then number three, they have to follow the terms of the will or the trust, or if there wasn't one of those, they have to follow the default rules of probate on who gets what after the estate is distributed. Those are the three things that you should know if you're a beneficiary and you're wondering, what should this person be doing? Or if you're taking on that job, you need to be making sure you're doing those three things. Don't ignore that. That is your job, okay? And if it's done wrong, you as a trustee or whoever the trustee is can be held and should be held legally responsible to make everything whole and to make it right. That's their job. Well, that's all we have for today. I want to invite you, if you are in the middle of a mess where it just is not going as planned, and somebody is either taking care of mom or dad and it just, you think they're taking advantage of something, or they're not doing it correctly, or you need to do that yourself, you need to start taking care of mom or dad, I encourage you, come sit down for a discovery hour with my firm. There are things you're supposed to do that are not common sense, and I go through some of those in my book, so feel free to call and request that. 480-750-7788. Happy to send you a quick free copy right to your email, or you can jump on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. You can request this week's free show notes for all the outline of everything we covered. Or if you want to plan ahead, if you've got a family that you love and you're just thinking, man, I don't want my family to have to deal with this. I don't want them to know that I completely buried my head in the sand on this and just left them with a mess. If you want them to think that, oh my gosh, wow, mom or dad really took care of this. They really organized things so that it wouldn't be as hard on me as it could. It's as simple as possible. That's the other thing we do. We're the only firm that can give a 10x no probate guarantee. And that means that your estate will be protected. Give us a call, 480-750-7788, 480-750-7788. We'd love to help, see if we are a good fit to help you set yours up. Other than that, you guys have a great week. Go out and live your legacy.